This is what's pissing me off today. I'm Bob Pritchard. Well, as you've probably heard by now, the illustrious leader of the Conservative Party of Canada is running in a by-election out in Alberta. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, that's odd. We just had a federal election, so how come we have a by-election already? Well, as it turned out, two things happened in the last federal election. First of all, they elected a Conservative Party of Canada member out there. And secondly, Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, lost his seat in Ottawa. Not only did he lose his seat, but he set a new record in Canadian politics by actually taking the biggest dump of any party in the history of this country, going from a slam dunk majority government to maybe the smallest party in this country, at least not quite the smallest, but darn close to it. So he has to find himself a place to, get elected so he can sit in Parliament and argue with Mark Carney over Trump and the things that the federal government does up there. Anyway, at the end of the discussion, it seems to be all wrong. One would think that what we really want to have from our local MPs is some sort of, let's call it an insight as to what's going on in the local riding. What are the issues, what do the people want, what's important to those particular people, and most importantly, to be able to find it on a map should they be asked where the heck their riding is after the election. It's almost a slam dunk that Poilievre will be elected out there. After all, as far as anybody can ever remember, it's either been a Conservative Party member that's been elected or a Reform or Alliance, which is really all the same thing when you come right down to it. So at the end of the day, it's a pretty sure thing that, yes, Poilievre will be elected and back in Parliament. However, there is a fly in the ointment. Yes, apparently about 206 other people have decided to run in that riding, which is kind of remarkable when you think about it, given we only have, 5 real parties in this country? So at the end of the equation, somebody's just messing with Pierre and running a whole bunch of candidates to, confuse the electorate and do whatever else they can do to keep him from being elected. Now, personally, I hope he does get elected. Not that I have any special love for the man. In fact, I think he kind of botched the last election in a major way. But at the end of the discussion, what it comes down to is what's going to happen at the end of this current term of Parliament. And I know we just had the federal election, but it's a minority government, and minority governments simply don't last. So it's inevitable at some stage between now and, let's say, 4 years from now, that we have another federal election. And at that time, we'll figure out whether Mark Carney was a decent prime minister or not. And if he was or is, then by that time, we'll probably run out of patience with Poilievre and the Conservative Party of Canada. And it'll be another Liberal government, which, if the Conservative Party of Canada has their brains in order, would be the end of Poilievre. Now, let's talk about what happens when that comes around, if it comes around. Who would take over? Well, that's a good question. The only Conservative leader in this country who seems to have everything under control is our very own Dougie. Yep, Doug Ford. French might be a little light, but his method of politics is certainly unique in this country. So, if we get to the next election and the Conservative Party loses, guess who could be standing there ready to step in? At any rate, we have to get through this by-election to find out if Pierre's going to make another trip to Ottawa, and hope when he gets to Ottawa that he remembers where his riding is or what it's called. And that's what's pissing me off today. I'm Bob Pritchard.